have resumed, as has the flow of oil imports to Hodeidah. The Houthis stipulated that the terms of the truce renewal include their military and security personnel in the payroll. The group has bombed ports, ships, and oil export terminals in Hadramaut and Shabwa governorates, preventing the export of oil abroad and exacerbating the financial crisis in the country. Since the truce's expiry, bilateral talks have intensified between the Saudis and the Houthi militia with Omani mediation. Despite the Houthis' intransigence, Yemen witnessed positive signs in the past month. The Yemeni government has agreed to expand flights between Sana'a airport and Amman to 6 weekly flights. And the Saudi government allowed direct flights for pilgrims from Sana'a to Jeddah for the first time since the outbreak of the war. Parallel to diplomatic efforts, human suffering continues in Yemen, which has been at war for 9 long years, with an estimated 21.6 million Yemenis in need of aid or protection, according to United Nations estimates.
A senior U.S. State Department official said the American administration will not reach the satisfaction stage until a permanent ceasefire is achieved in Yemen. The U.S. official said talks that could not have taken place last year are happening now. He added that neither the UN nor the U.S. can reach peace in Yemen alone, and that there is a need to build on the truce. The Yemeni army said it had inflicted losses on the ranks of the Houthi militia following clashes in Taiz, southwestern Yemen. The media center of the Yemeni army said the National Army forces, backed by the Popular Resistance, thwarted the infiltration attempt in the west of the city of Taiz. He confirmed that some of the Houthis were killed and injured when their infiltration attempt was thwarted. Violent battles erupted between the joint forces and the Houthi militia northwest of Al-Dawla. A military source confirmed that fierce battles took place between the joint forces and the Houthi militia on a number of fronts in Al-Fakhr sector west of Qataba district. He added that the two sides used various types of medium and light weapons. child was killed in an explosion from the remnants of the Houthi war in Taiz. The Yemeni Landmine Observatory said the child Arafat Abdo, 13 years old, was killed as a result of an explosion of a projectile left over from the war in the countryside of Taiz Governorate. Taiz is one of the largest Yemeni governorates in terms of the number of mine victims planted by the terrorist Houthi militia. Massam, the mining project, removed more than 25,000 explosive remnants of war during the first half of this year. Noteworthy, Massam was able during the last 5 years to remove and destroy more than 400,000 mines from Yemeni lands. A recent UN report stated that mines and explosive devices of war caused more than half of the number of child casualties in the past year in Yemen. According to the report, landmines have claimed a total of 282 child victims, which represents about 52% of the total child victims of the conflict in Yemen. This report has more details.
According to the current UN data, mines set up by the Houthi militia in Yemen were the primary cause of more than half of the child casualties, while the Saudi demining project in Yemen, Massam, reported that almost 5,000 mines had been cleared in the previous month. The Massam project reported that its technical teams removed 4,899 explosive remnants of war between June 1 and June 30, including 4,307 unexploded ordnance, 478 anti-tank mines, and 113 individual mines and explosive devices. In the last week of the same month, the project teams removed 605 explosive devices, including 125 anti-tank mines and 480 unexploded ordnance, according to the statement. Since the project's inception in the middle of 2018, Massam has been able to remove and destroy more than 400,000 explosive devices. Houthis planted tens of thousands of mines and distributed them on fields, roadways, and near schools and mosques, killing hundreds of civilians, many of whom were children. A report by the UN stated that more than half of the number of child victims who fell during the past year due to the conflict was because of landmines. The UN report cited mortar and artillery rounds as the second leading cause of child casualties, with 103 victims, followed by shootings and exchanges of fire with 77 victims, and drone attacks with 50 victims, in addition to 14 children who were run over by military vehicles. The United Nations Mission in support of Hudaydah Agreement reported 10 civilian casualties from landmines and explosive remnants of war in Hudaydah Governorate, a decrease of 68% compared to May of last year, and a decrease of 23% compared to the previous month. A frontline shift in Hudaydah in late 2021 as a result of the redeployment process carried out by government forces gave civilians greater freedom of movement, but unfortunately, Hudaydah recorded the highest rate of death tolls. The National Mine Action Center in Aden reported that its engineering teams had cleared 9,725 square meters of mines and explosive ordnance during May, and that it identified nearly 1.5 million square meters of new dangerous areas in Hudaydah Governorate's southern districts.
The United Nations said that the Houthis are responsible for more than 73% of child recruitment cases in Yemen last year. The report stated that the Houthi group continued to recruit children even though they signed last year the action plan to end and prevent the recruitment and use of children. Sana'a is threatened with the waste of Eid al-Adha sacrifices amid negligence of the Houthi militia. Such a neglect endangers civilians' health, especially with the outbreak of epidemic and diseases. The following report has more details.
Residents of the Yemeni capital Sana'a have complained about the accumulation of sacrificial remnants and piles of garbage since the first days of Eid al-Adha in separate neighborhoods and streets in Sana'a amid warnings of health and environmental risks. Residents said that most of the capital's districts and neighborhoods are witnessing an accumulation of sacrificial waste and piles of garbage in light of the militia authorities' negligence of the disaster and their failure to contain it. In view of the closure of dozens of slaughterhouses in Sana'a prior to the Eid due to the Houthi taxation and the cessation of cleaning campaigns during the days of the Eid, the population fears that will lead to an outbreak of diseases and epidemics. Despite the huge sums of money that the Houthi militia collected successively in Sana'a and elsewhere, in addition to the international support it receives from humanitarian organizations and UN agencies, the capital under the group's control is currently almost drowning, in addition to the frequent overflow of sewage water. Residents in Sana'a held the coup authorities responsible for the environmental and health risks that might affect them as a result of the continued accumulation of sacrificial waste in the neighborhoods and streets of the capital and the failure to take any measures to remove and dispose of it. Since the beginning of the Eid days, the leaders of the Houthi militia have devoted themselves to visiting their elements on the fronts and going to the field in order to collect cash donations for the fighters and send them in convoys to the fronts. This came at a time when the militia is making preparations through the Works Office under their control to launch a campaign targeting sidewalk vendors in separate areas of the capital under the pretext of removing violations and eliminating randomness.
Coming next. Authors reap massive public revenues without providing services. Welcome back. The security services in Ma'rib managed to seize a terrorist cell affiliated with the Houthi militia. A security source said the cell members were recruited by the leaders of the terrorist Houthi militia to plant explosive devices at Harib and the international road to target civilian and military vehicles. A UN report stated that the level of food insecurity reached alarming levels last May. The report indicated that the lack of food in Yemen increased by 9% compared to the previous month, especially in the northern and southern regions. It revealed that about 48% of the families surveyed were unable to meet their food needs. The windy season in Aden prevents people from swimming amid lack of safety measures on the beaches. This report has more.
There is no better place for Yemenis to spend Eid than the shores of Aden. This charm may turn against people who visit Aden's beaches due to the windy season, as the authorities give warnings against swimming at this time of year.
It's known that the waters of the Gulf of Aden are characterized by two wind seasons, and now the southwest wind season has begun. From June to September, Aden witnesses strong winds along with natural phenomena. During the last 5 years, the waters of the Gulf of Aden witnessed a climate change as the fishermen noticed a change in the sea tides.
Winds, water turbulence and climate change are all variables that have encouraged experts to advise against swimming in the sea, despite the lack of safety measures on Aden's beaches.
I advise young people in the summer to go to the swimming pools because they are safe. Many people have drowned during the windy season, therefore people have to stay on the beach to ensure the safety.
The delight of Eid may be a motivation to rush into the sea and disregard safety precautions, but self-preservation takes precedence over what is less, making adherence to preventative measures and safety guidelines mandatory.
The Houthi rebels are managing a multi-war economy in Yemen. They use the weapon of looting and confiscating public and private properties while providing no services. This report has more details.
Confiscation of property has become the main weapon of the Houthi militia in seizing the money and assets of businessmen, investment companies and private projects in the areas under its control. The confiscation aims at removing opponents from the circle of economic or social influence. to tighten the Houthi grip on the economy, to reshape the private sector and the financial, business and trade community in its favor, and to create a new class of wealthy people who belong to the militia. A report revealed the development of Houthi mechanisms for looting and confiscating opponents' money, which takes place through wide networks that include the judiciary, the central bank, security and intelligence affiliated with the militia, and other parties directly affiliated with the Houthis. The report documented the seizure of more than $1.7 billion by the group's judicial guard from the value of money, companies and institutions and associations on ports. It also documented the total value of funds and revenues seized from assets and real estate that stood at more than $2 billion. The report collected the names of more than 38 major companies and institutions, universities and hospitals that were seized by the Judicial Guard in the capital Sana'a alone. And these companies and institutions belong to dozens of branches, centers and units in the governorates under the authority of the militia. The Houthi confiscation includes fraud, plunder, extortion and deliberate violence to control profitable assets, invest the looted and exploit the labor force.
Here is a reminder of the main headlines. United Nations Security Council discusses latest developments in Yemen next week. Houthi late mines continue to claim lives of Yemeni children nationwide. Houthi neglect endangers civilians' health amid outbreak of epidemics and diseases. This is the end of the news. It was Rishan Fuad. Thank you for watching.